Roller coaster of cheating the past 2 years. My wife 28F I caught cheating on me emotionally through an online relationship, through gaming October 2020 while we lived an ocean apart from this person located in Southern California. She said let's work it out, and I caught her still talking to him. November 2021 I moved out for 3 months. I decided to move back in January 2021 and then I found it again in June of 2021. I'm a ducking idiot, I know. Things get to a neutral stance at this point as I don't want to disclose information of why I didn't leave or split, because it will very much give context to who I am. Just understand that up until May 2022 we were unable to be separated for reason out of our control. It seems like we're working on our relationship, but it's not getting better or worse. I have anxiety of her cheating and depression, so I end up on Zoloft. I felt physically agitated daily and unable to concentrate. It works for the most part to help with some depression I already had and some anxiety. From June 2021 May 2022 I will say the meds helped me not be overwhelmed with the issues I had, but I wasn't working on cognitive therapy. I am now tried to stop the meds, but all of those emotions came back, so I got back on Zoloft again. We moved back to the East Coast May of 2022 and she said at one point she would want to see her family in San Diego, implying that she would go alone. Remember, this is also where this guy lives. I have family there as well, which I was thinking I would eventually visit since it had been several years. August of 2022 I start to check her Apple Watch for messages. It appears she is messaging a new guy, nothing beyond friendly, but I notice there are good morning and good evening text. In my mind this is typically for people of interest or dating. I confront her about this and she is upset, and now I can even see her Apple Watch. It is hidden and never to be seen. September 2022 she informs me she purchased a ticket to California with insurance to see her family and friends. She didn't talk to me beforehand or try to inquire if I wanted to go. She was worried I would be mad and she got insurance in case she wanted to refund. I was a little frustrated because she knew I would have wanted to go to see my family too, but I just kind of let this go. 2 weeks later she is enthusiastic to get me a plane ticket now to San Diego. This confused me because she had no initial plans. Now from September to October she isn't really making plans with me to see family or spend time together and has planned to stay with her friends and advised that I stay with my family. 1 week before the trip she sits me down and starts to tell me that she has had no interest in S-time and does not find it enjoyable. She states that she believes she may be a S-time mule. In my mind I can only think of all the times we had S-time and it was reciprocal. She states that I am touch love language and she only does it to make me happy. We maybe have S-time once a month or every other month if that. I never really press it either because I got tired of being rejected. She also states she would never want a kid with me. I feel as if she is finding reasons to not want to be with me. She then says she wants to be in California, and not have me with her during our trip. Several days later she requests marriage counseling, which on the initial cheating she was iffy on if she would want to go. I scheduled the appointment for after our trip. First session is in 3 days. We go on the trip to California and none of it was together but to see her mom for breakfast for 2 hours. She's texting me regularly throughout the week-long trip, which confused me because it sounds like she didn't want me around. I come back to California and become distant, and now she is super touchy and lovey like what happened before the trip wasn't an issue. I am distant because I'm unsure of how to take this or read it. I have concerns if she planned to cheat in San Diego or she did. I have confronted her straight on and I feel like constant deflecting and I'm the bad guy for trust issues. She spends hours on her computer playing video games, which I think is a form of escapism, and she has mentioned being depressed. I am the breadwinner and I believe that she doesn't want to leave because everything logically makes sense to stay, but her heart isn't in it. I feel like if I could have left in 2021 that would have been the perfect time, but I missed it. Do you think I should try this marriage counseling? Is this too far gone? Redditor's reactions, story 2 after. Redditor 1, you need to stop playing pick me and file for divorce. Marriages are supposed to be mutually beneficial. Here, it looks like you have all of the responsibilities and none of the benefits. If she responds by begging you to keep the marriage, I guess you can try and save, although I wouldn't if I were you. If she doesn't fight it, you'll know it was the right decision. Redditor 2, with all due respect, divorce her cheating ass. She is using you for her comfort and plan B. You ain't her first choice. The audacity of her. She plays you as a fool. She ain't your wife. Move out of the toxic relationship and save yourself. If I was in your shoes, I'll do a 180 on her and start dating other girls right in front of her. But that's me. Best of luck. Semper Fi. Redditor 3, she doesn't respect you. She's cheated before. Likely still continuing her emotional affairs. My opinion is she cheated on the trip. Denies you intimacy. She's likely only super touchy now because some other guy got her turned on. Doesn't offer transparency on devices and communications with others. What the heck does this marriage offer you? Because by all accounts she's in this solely for her needs, likely financial, but is unwilling to offer anything to you. No emotional support or safety, no physical affection, minimal financial contribution. You are the breadwinner. Actions speak louder than words, my friend. This isn't a marriage based on mutual benefit. This is an arrangement for her needs only. I don't see much to salvage, honestly. Sorry. Story 2, I think I found a place to get help. Hello everyone. I stumbles on this subreddit, and I'm thankful. It's been a year since my relationship ended with my partner leaving me for another man. And for a year I've been bottling this in because none of my friends were in a long-term relationship. Nor did any of those in a later had trust issues from their partner sneaking around and had their relationship end with infidelity. And today I was driving and was crying because I didn't know how to get help. Everyone around me just said get over it, it's over, and don't understand the pain of how it ended. And I've been reading a lot of posts and think I found a place I can get help. I was starting to hit rock bottom. Because my last relationship before this one, which only last 9 months, ended in infidelity, and it took me 4 years to trust again. To get in a 6-year-long relationship that ended in infidelity. And I was questioning if I'm worth it. If all my meaningful relationships end with this, what's the point? I'd love to talk about what happened, but what to make sure I'm in the right place. Mainly because of some doubts put in my head. Like we've had 3 occurrences of her sneaking behind my back, and when we were breaking up she told me she was always faithful and then started yelling at me as to why I didn't trust her friend. And then that night she was gone and I found all our time toys missing, and when I called her he picked up. The friend I should have trusted. And because of that I don't know if it's lies or just. It's put so many doubts in my head that I've been going back and forth on. Maybe it started after the breakup. But she was at a friend's when she called to break up. I just want to know I'm in the right place to share my story. Update: it has been a year and I haven't told anyone my story. Only parts, but never everything. Hello everyone. I have been for a year bottling in what I call my 2 weeks in hell. It's the name I use to avoid thinking about any of the details besides one or two I give to someone to explain why it was hell. And I'm the kind of man who doesn't bottle things up. I believe it's unhealthy and only leads to bad things. If you need to cry, it's okay. Maybe not in public, but when you get home it's okay. And for a year I've been refusing to cry. Refusing to think about what happened. Nightmares keeping me awake for months. I was too afraid to tell my friends because I felt they wouldn't understand. And I lost the friends who were there when it all happened because I became hysterical. And even writing it down I think will help. Okay, here we go. A year ago my dad was pushing me to visit my uncle in Texas. Was really pushing and said it was important. Things were rocky with me and my ex. We had a nasty fight about how I can't trust her, and I said it's because she's gone behind my back and snuck around 3 times. She said nothing happened but sneaking to your coworker's house and my coworker's house and not saying anything is crossing a boundary and seems odd. And I found out when my friend who lived next door told me. The day comes to leave, and I had a gut feeling to not go. But I went as my dad pushed me. In Texas my uncles and dad come to tell me that one is dying, and how they want me to be the benefactor. And I was pushing my ex to make new friends. And she was at her friend's and in a state of emotion turmoil. I tried to call her. She would text, "I'm leaving in 10 minutes, hold on," and then an hour later I would go, "Please, is this really what you think of me?" When she did call she said she wanted out. I asked her to please not make a decision until I get home. I rushed home from Texas. When I got home she had a few bags packed and told she was done and I can't change, and we talked before she left. About how I can stay but still owe half the rent and we'll figure out the split in a month. She said she was going to her girlfriend's house for moral support. She was gone for 4 days. And the police came by when she didn't show up to work. And I told them she left and they asked, did I do anything to stop her? I said no, she's free, and over 21, what was I supposed to do, grab her? He said you handled it well son, and left. I texted her friend and her friend said she's sleeping. When she got home the next day she was glowing and happy and I told her what happened and she said nice, my girlfriend covers for me, and I went what? And she told me she was in the woods with her old co-worker who her and I fought about. She went to work for a week and I made breakfast, packed lunches and made dinner. Drew her a bath every night, and one night she dragged me off the couch and told me to cuddle her. For 8 hours I laid there crying. Just hurt. When she woke up she looked at me and smiled and I said hi and we talked before she shoved me off of her. She stood up and got dressed and told me to not get any ideas. That was only for her and not for me. I just sat on the bed and said, I pray no man hurts you as much as you are me right now. She then told me to leave as she was getting dressed. I left and she called me in half naked and started yelling at me about how she never cheated in our relationship and her co-worker is only a friend. She leaves and I, who doesn't drink, goes to a bar. I have a few beers and met up with old friends. They told me they hadn't heard from me. Said I used to be really active and social but just disappeared. I went home and noticed something weird. I opened our drawer and one of our toys is missing. I open our toy box and over half we're gone. She wasn't getting dressed, she was packing. I called her up and she says what? I sat in silence for a second before I said, so you quit relationships like you do jobs? Gotta have the next one lined up. And then he took the phone. Told me how I'm a duck-up. How he was in the army and killed people and how he has a degree in psychology. And how he will treat her better, berating me on every point I make and just twisting things. One point he said you've been together 2 years and, both her and I at the same time say 6 years not 2, and he paused for a second before going back to how I will pack my stuff and get the hell out of the house. And he hung up. And? 2 weeks later I came to 200 miles away with plans to go to a strip club with an old friend. My therapist said trauma can cause blackouts. And I booked him the first time she left. Like the minute she walked out the door. But even typing this up, the pain is. After 6 years. Was any of that real? If that's how you end it. I wouldn't conceive of doing this to an enemy, less alone a love or past love. The times we had problems, she told me to sleep with some and get even, and I told her no. I wouldn't do that to someone I loved. And I just feel replaced like a bad car part with no value as a human being. Easily replaced, and you can have fun and shoot it with a gun after. It's garbage, who cares? When we started dating on our 3rd date, she hugged me and said I choose you. And at the time I thought, oh, I'm chosen, that's nice. Wait, what does she mean? But that then said her and her ex were fighting and he was coming at her. I told her that I'm not going to get involved because I know how devastating it is to a man to have the new boyfriend tell you go away. She got mad and they felt with it. And eventually I figured out, the context of conversations about him, that I think she cheated on him with me. And I just... Was anything we had not real? It was to me. But was it to her? Thank you very much for taking the time to read this. And even if it writing the story helps. Update, after admitting I'm not at fault for their infidelity. My emotions have changed, and I don't like it. Hello everyone. After a year from my D-Day, I was hitting rock bottom. Questioning every fiber of who I am as a human. Questioning what I did to deserve this. What I could have done to avoid it. And after reading the stories of those going through the same and posting my own, it's helped. I see I'm not alone. That other feel this scare as well. And they know the pain and scare of the betrayal and the gaslighting to make you think you're at fault. And once the feeling of loss and inadequacy faded with the realization I'm not alone and I'm not responsible for what they did, it turned into anger and rage. Rage that someone who said they loved me gaslight me. Anger that someone who said I was their soulmate and felt a spurt bond betrayed me. And I hate it. I loved her. And true love is wanted the best for someone else even if it don't involve you. But did you have to burn me and twist the blade? And I hate the rage and anger. I'm a pacifist and this whole experience has made me feel rage and anger I never have and never wanted to. One just ask. How? My only theory is they gaslight themselves or let the AP convince them, but I just can't wrap my head around watching someone you love or loved cry like a baby as you betrayed them and go, yeah, I'm a good person, it's their fault. She had a look on her face that said I'm sorry, but that's it. She looked like she was in so much pain seeing me like that. And still went off and slept with her AP, and had him throw me out. Update, progress after a year and I feel good. Hey. It has been a year and a half since D-Day 4. The last year has been hell with finding no motivation or care to do work. Got demoted at work, failed 2 classes, lost almost all my friends. But yesterday I convinced myself to stop and spent $1,000 refurnishing my new apartment the way I want it. No having to ask if this good or can we have this. I then made steaks with my friend and didn't remember until the streaks were done at 9:30 p.m. that it's my ex-wife's birthday. I plated the steaks and poured wine and made a toast. To my ex-wife, if she didn't have an affair I'd be making her this meal, and another 4 courses, may she remember that at her dinner tonight. I feel good. It don't think about her till late afternoon or early evening and forgetting her birthday is big. Her and my B-days are a week apart. And I'd make her dinner on hers. We'd have a party 3 days later for both of us and then my B-day 3 days later. I was more fixated on planning my first B-day party on my actual birthday to remember it was hers. I think that's progress and feel good. I'm moving on. Slowly but surely. Update: I saw a ghost from my past while coping with infidelity of last relationship. Hey, just needing a bit of advice today as some very weird coincidence happened this week. My counselor and I are starting my PTSD treatment, and he was telling me how he added a life event I left out that he feels contributes to the PTSD and loss of my 6-year relationship. That being when I was 13, my 13-year-old GF of 9 months cheated on me with a 23-year-old. I wrote it off and he said he felt it contributes to the PTSD of my ex-wife having an affair and leaving me for another man. Saying I didn't deal with it then and when this happened the trauma has heightened. I went maybe it was over 10 years ago and I haven't seen her in 7. Then 4 hours later I was walking down the street to work and a girl looked up from her phone and dead stopped, jaw dropped and stared at me. I looked around and she was staring at me. Sat down and thought a bit rude, but who was that? Then it hit me. It was my ex from when I was 13. I haven't heard from her in 7 years. And I'm proud and happy she's trying to go back to school. But I definitely think I see what my therapist said. And now for 2 days I've been comparing the situations. And it does not help because I am not angry at my ex from 13. We were 13 and she was very obviously abused, tricked, and used. I feel anger at her parents for letting it happen, and I was just another casualty but she was the victim. And it's adding anger to my ex-wife, who was 22, not tricked as far as I know and left and did all this on her own intuition. Just now the past 2 days I've been a bit in my own mind. Been using grounding techniques and that, but it's been overwhelming. And well, honestly I'd love to talk to my ex from 13. Last time we talked 7 years ago it was on a very sweet note and I got what I call closer, but yeah. Not really sure what to do or what's going on. Update: how did you get rid of the anger or cope with it? Hello everyone. My D-Day 4 was almost 2 years ago, and I haven't slept properly since then. When I sleep I relive the situation and get too upset to sleep. It feel like I hit a big bump in the road, and I finally figured out why. If you want to read the whole story, look at my posts. Out of all of the emotions I've allowed myself to express and feel, anger has not been one. I've cried, I've been to therapy, I've let everything out but my anger. I haven't because I don't want to be angry at someone who I once loved. I don't want to feel hate for someone I once would have killed and died for. In the 2 years since I still haven't called her the B word. Even in the breakup and confrontation I didn't. And it's funny to me because I walked out of the house and she followed me and said, I know I'm being one, just fucking call me it, and I refused. But now that anger is affecting my life, causing deep depression and sorrow. But what can I do? I don't want to become an angry man, but I feel if I hold on to it I will be. And I'm definitely a people pleaser to the point I get walked all over. It's happened a lot, and this ain't even my first relationship to end in an affair. It's just the one that hurts the most. I don't know what to do. Does anyone have any advice? Redditor's reactions. Redditor 1, gym every day. For hours if possible. Op answer, for the first 6 months I did that. Lost 15 pounds and felt good, but that ended with me doing good in my classes as I hit a roadblock. Now I've lost 30 pounds from malnutrition. I want to do boxing but can't make that first step. Redditor 2, okay, that is why I always tell people that repressing their emotions is ducking stupid and counterproductive, but nobody tell you how to deal with them, so a lot of people end up like you. So mate, here is the deal: you can't make your emotions disappear or repress them forever. It's stupid to even try, and I think you know it since it hasn't worked. So it's somewhat simple. First, you accept the emotion because you can only accept it. It's like you get sick. Can you ignore the sickness because you want to? No. Then you try to find out the why you feel this emotions, and I mean the deep reason, not just I'm angry at my ex. No. What makes you angry precisely? Is it the lack of justice for your suffering and struggle? For example, or maybe it's something else. Then try to find what triggers you in the present. Like if you start to feel that anger, find what triggered it at that moment. Then don't let anger control you. It's an emotion. A simple trick is to word it differently. Instead of saying I'm angry, say I feel anger. In one, anger controls you, in the other you control it. It's like when you feel hungry at your job. Do you immediately stop your job and go eat something, or is it just something you can control? I'm saying you need to control it because you can't let it loose, but you also need to find ways to express that emotions and release the pressure. A good way for anger is usually combat sports, or any type of physical activities is almost always great. But find a way to express it in a controlled way, and if it helps you get in shape, then it's only positives. Then try to fix the source of the problem, for example your anger. Try to find the why and understand what makes you angry and deal with it. Sometimes simply understanding how or why you feel it is enough to make it disappear. Op answer, yeah, I can agree. I'm not one to bottle in or repress emotions. In fact, I would tell my ex that all the time. It's bad to repress emotions and you can talk to me. I guess instead of talking, she decided to give me a reason to repress emotions. And I'm not sure if it's injustice or that I want something that proves it meant something to her. Redditor 3, one thing I learned in therapy was to allow yourself to feel emotions. Only by experiencing feelings can you dissipate them. Suppressing them just leads to more problems. Allow yourself to feel it. Yell, curse, break stuff, not expensive stuff. Don't do it in public and not in front of her. After a while you will start to feel it go away. Eventually you just won't care. I'm not angry with her anymore. I don't hate her exactly. I actually feel indifferent, mostly, which is where you want to get to. Op answer, I didn't show any anger to her. Or in front of her. I wanted to leave a note that said horrible it, but decided not to. I instead left a note written on the back of a picture we drew and colored on our wall. Thank you for supporting me through college. I'll never forget our time together. I wrote it on that picture because it was a wild collage of shapes and pictures that said I ducking love you, and I'd be damned if she gave that to someone else. And as my dad said, hate isn't the opposite of love. Indifference is.